Jai Gurudev. Happy Guru Purnima to all of you. So for the ones who don't know me, my name is Swami Akash. Hi. Jai Gurudev. Hi. I've been living here for the past 9 years very happily. And I met Guruji 9 years ago. Now today, given that is the day of the Guru Purnima is the day where, especially today, in all the days of the year, you remember and you glorify the Guru. I wouldn't say even more than the other days, but it's just that specific day dedicated to the Guru, to the Master, to the one who helps us to go from darkness to light. Now, looking at all of you and the crowd and the people also that will listen to this online, we are a very mixed audience. There are some of you who met Guruji maybe 20 years ago, and there are some of you that met Guruji not yet. You will meet him when he comes down later on. So the talk of today is not going to be too complicated, because we don't want to talk about things that are complicated, but it will be essential for all of us to understand, why do we all need a Guru? Whether you met him a long time ago or you didn't meet him yet, we all need the Guru. To meet the Guru for a longer time, it doesn't mean that you are more advanced than other people. That's a misconception that some people have sometimes. You think that just because you met your Guru, your satguru, years ago, then you're advanced on a spiritual path. But that's not how it works. And I think the sincere seekers that are listening to this, they know, they realize time doesn't really equal advancement. Because it's complicated to advance on the path. It's complicated to follow the Guru, because the Guru is a very, very difficult topic to understand, to experience. It's so inconceivable. How do you categorize it? Which tag do you put on the Guru? It's very complicated. But as some of you might know, and the ones who don't know will find out tonight, we created, and rather than creating, actually, we put together, a team have put together the philosophy that Guruji spoke about. That's something you need to know about our Guru, Paramahansa Vishwananda. He speaks in a very easy and understandable way when he's giving talks. When he talks, he's very approachable, he's very understandable, and he explains very difficult and deep and profound things in a very easy and understandable way. If you listen to what he talks about and what he writes, and then you go in the big scriptures of Hinduism, in the Vedas, in the Upanishads, you take the big scriptures and the very deep one and the old ones, the ancient ones, you realize that actually they say exactly the same thing that Guruji says, just much more complicated. But the Guru is this figure that is approachable. It's easy to interact with him because he's here. He's not in the mind, he's not an idea, it's not a fantasy. He actually is here, embodied, walking around. So we have put together his concepts, his teachings into this book that you will find at 2 o'clock either in the Bhakti shop or in the Darshan hall, in the Panorama hall. When you go there, you can finally take it. It's outside. And this is a book on the Tadatmya Vedanta and is the explanation of Guruji's philosophy. Nice. So for today's lecture, we don't have big and fancy slides, but we read directly from the book like the old times, before LEDs and screens were there. And so when we go directly on the section that talks about the Satguru and the nature of the Satguru, what is the nature of the Sadguru? There's a specific chapter that talks about the nature of the Sadguru and what Guruji said about the Sadguru. And we can read, the Sadguru is not merely a teacher or even an enlightened being. In this Siddhanta, the title of Sadguru is granted exclusively to one able to bestow the highest realization by will alone. That's a definition of what is Sadguru, to grant the highest realization by will alone. If that's the way you define a Sadguru, you already realize how many other gurus, teachers, and masters we can take out from this category, because the highest realization by mere will. There's a famous story that I said many times, but it's always nice to remember and to see how much what is written inside here, what Guruji talks about, and what the scriptures talk about, with the Sadguru, the real Sadguru, they become true, they become real. You actually experience them. So many years ago, almost 9, it was August, I was in Guruji's room. I arrive, I bow down, I say hi. So I'm still on my knees. He's standing. He looks at me and he says, Akash, are you ready? It was a very, very mystical atmosphere. Everything changed. You know, this like in the movies. And so it was a clear moment where he wasn't asking me if I was ready to have some pizza. Are you ready for this highest realization? Are you ready for this greatest gift I can give to you? So I'm on my knees looking at him and I say, yes. And he says, no. And I look at him and I say, yeah, it's true, no. But I said yes because I tried. You never know. You never know. And also, when is it going to happen again? Well, it was the right answer in that moment. And then Guruji said, I could make you ready before I snap my finger. But not yet. Later on. Later on. There is time. Let's make some time wait. Now it's 9 years. And I'm not ready yet. And it's fine, because 9 years is not that much. If you probably think about how many lifetimes I invested into doing these things. But this shows how the Sadguru is that one that can actually give you that highest realization. And this is very important to help you put the right individual, the right being in the right category, the Sadguru. Now, reading again, it says, Sri Hari closes the existential gap between himself and mankind by sending off the Sadguru, who is understood as the manifest grace of God, and thus referred to as Anugraha Shakti Avatar, the embodiment of Sri Hari's grace. Sri Hari, for the new ones of you who don't know, it's the name that Guruji refers to, and in Hinduism you might refer to as God. So it says God, the ultimate, the source of everything, the cause of all causes, the origin of everything, closes the gap. Because that's the thing we're talking about. When we talk about God, I come to you and I tell you, now experience God. What does it mean? It's something always stayed in my mind. Since when I was young, I was going to church and I was thinking, how do I talk to him? How do I know that he's listening? How do I know that he's answering and it's just my imagination? How do I contact him? And that's why with time, I lost that faith. I lost that connection because I wasn't able to have that relationship. I knew something was there. And I think that's an experience we all have. Even the ones of you that stop believing in one God, who are convinced that there is no God, you might not call it God. You might not define it in the way religion, scriptures, and spiritual traditions define it. But somehow inside you have this feeling that something is there. It's easier to say something than someone, because when you become someone, you have to put all the personality. But that's why it's more appealing and it's easier to understand, to have an impersonal reality outside, an impersonal God that you try to connect to. And what Guruji explains is that one that is closing that gap between that extreme and supreme reality and us here right now embodied is the Satguru, and comes bringing this grace. He's the one that can give the grace to all of us to be able to reach him. By mere will, he can say, take it, you have it, now. It doesn't have to be closed. It doesn't have to come down, look at some of you and say, now I grant it you. You can do it from wherever he is. Because it's something that is beyond space and time and the understanding that we have with the mind. Now, the more you listen to what I'm saying, and I always, given that I travel a lot and I talk many times with new people, sometimes I think, what do people think when I talk about these things? Maybe they think I need a psychiatrist. Maybe they think I ate some mushrooms and I'm super high right now. Because for the mind, this is very difficult to grasp. It's very complicated. What am I talking about? It's very, very difficult. That's why the nature of the Satguru is a mystery. The Satguru is a mystery. He's such a controversial figure in the life of a spiritual seeker, because it's so complicated to understand. So complicated to understand. And Guruji, in one of his tweets, he said, all obeisances to that supreme tattva, that supreme nature, Sri Hari Narayana, God, whose grace comes in the form of the Satguru. That's a good definition we all need to have. Whether you believe it or not, for the next hour, just keep it in mind. The Satguru is the one that comes and is the one that is able to give that grace by mere will to whoever he desires or he wishes to. And it says, since God is the reservoir of all Shaktis, all powers, he is naturally capable of assuming any role he desires. On exceedingly rare occasions, he chooses not only to manifest his grace, but to personally manifest for the upliftment of humanity and the restoration of spiritual order. So God chooses either to empower someone or to directly come down and act as the Guru. And we can see in the Bhagavad Gita, what is Krishna doing for Arjuna? For the ones of you who don't know, the Bhagavad Gita is a great, great scripture. It talks about a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. Krishna is an avatar. Avatar means descent. He is the embodiment of God. And he's talking to Arjuna. Arjuna represents all of us. Arjuna is on the battlefield. He has to do something he doesn't want to. He has to act, but he doesn't want to do that because it's too complicated for him. It's something that he doesn't want to do. And Krishna guides him through his journey to then realize that the right thing to do is to fight that righteous war. And in that sense, Krishna is playing the role of the Satguru. Krishna comes as the embodiment of God and is the one that can grant that realization, can give that grace. What is that grace? Because that's also something that we struggle to understand, and then how do we ask something we don't really understand what it is? We were in Italy many years ago, and Guruji gave a talk. It was nice, he was in a house, we were outside in the garden, and then at the end people queued up to him for blessing and to talk to him. Many people came with many different requests and many also with gratitude. Some of them had very big problems. Some others had very ill people in their family, and they needed their relatives to be better, so they were asking for blessings. And then there was a guy who came. He was around 16. I was translating for him. He arrives, he sits down, he's very happy. He's super, super happy. Guruji is super happy. They're both smiling. The guy looks at Guruji and says, "I want what you have." And Guruji smiling, super happy, and says, "Really?" And the guy is still super happy and says, "Yes, I want what you have." Guruji still smiling, a little bit more serious now, and says, "Are you sure?" And the guy confirms and says, "Yes, I want the love that you have." And Guruji becomes a little bit more serious again and tells him, "This love burns everything else." And when he says that, as if he shot the guy with a gun, he just shot him with a spiritual gun, the guy moved back, shocked. I've never seen him again. He disappeared. Completely disappeared. Strong statement. We are asking for something we don't understand. The grace that he can give us, the grace that he can grant us, is a love that burns everything else. You must have nothing to receive everything. Every time Guruji says statements like this, I think, oh my God, I can't do this. Do I really want it? I don't know. I have too many attachments, too many ideas, too many concepts. I have too many identities I don't want to live. I think it has to be like this. God has to be like this. The Guru has to be like this. We put all the categories, all these ideas, and we put them on things and on people and on the Guru and on God. But then he comes and he says, you must have nothing to receive everything. That's the grace that he can grant. So it's very, very intense, mysterious, intense, beautiful, but also scary. When Guruji yesterday announced that the people who wanted to become devotees, they could become devotees, and also just to explain for the ones who don't know what it means, is in a way you have to understand it as being baptized, maybe in a parallel that we can all understand because of our Western mindset. So he said, if you have been in Bhakti Marga for at least 1 year, if you know what you're getting into, meaning you know what's the lifestyle of a devotee, you know what's the philosophy of a devotee, you know what's the mindset of a devotee, and you didn't eat eggs, fish or meat for the past 1 year, you can become a devotee. Now when you become a devotee, he gives the Ishtadev. The Ishtadev is a specific deity that is very close to you. Very close to you. Is the one you made a deal with a long time ago, immemorable, and is the one that agreed to bring you back to him. Before you meet the Guru, how do you contact that Ishtadev? For the ones of you who are not initiated, and the satguru never told you what is that deity that he can see that is close to you, how do you know? You don't. There are a few hints here and there maybe in your life. I was in Palermo once, and we made an event. It was a very small event in Sicily, very small. We were 4 of us, and then there were 4 people in a park, and we were just singing and then talking. The event finishes. We are walking towards outside. And there was a girl there, and she had like a tattoo coming down here, down the sleeve. And so I asked her, wow, what is that tattoo? And then she pulls up the sleeve and she shows this tattoo, and she said, I had a dream, and in that dream, there was a goddess. And she told me some stuff, and then when I woke up, I don't know, I felt to make this tattoo. And the tattoo was a conch. So she tattooed a conch. She met a goddess in her dream, and she made a conch tattoo. I was there, other two devotees were there with me. So I look at her and I said, wow, very nice. And I show her my sleeve with my tattoo of the conch. And then the other one shows the tattoo of the conch. And the other one shows the tattoo of the conch. So she's in this park, completely lost, with three weird guys who end up having a conch tattoo on the same arm as she has, because she met this goddess in her dream. Now, the conch represents the Divine Mother, Mahalakshmi. Yeah? So she realizes, wow, it was not just fantasy. She was always there, but you don't have that certainty. You don't have that clarity that then allows you to build a relationship with that deity. And so then she's a devotee now. She became a devotee later on. And she realized in that moment her connection to the path, her connection to Lakshmi, and at the end, the connection to the satguru. So, Paramahansa Vishwananda gives continuous satsangs, there are the talks, and commentaries on Shastra, the Holy Scriptures, and gives instructions on how to worship God. When you take shelter under him, the devotee is instructed to the form, to the name, and to the divine stories, the Leelas of God, of Sri Hari. Under the Satguru's guidance, a culture of sadhana is adopted, a culture of spiritual practice, which allows one to focus the mind and dive deeper into devotion. And Guruji says, we don't know who Lakshmi Narayana is. We don't know who God is without the mercy of the Guru. It is only through the mercy of the Guru that we get to know. And sometimes when I talk to the more skeptical ones, they say, oh, but you see, it's only through him. How is it possible? How can it be only through him? It's a difficult question. I don't know how many of you have been asked this question, but I tell you, how could it be that it's only through him? And the reason why it becomes problematic is because when we look at these statements, we think in the way we think. Yeah. If I have all the books, and they're all in my room, I tell you, this is the greatest book you can have. And to have it, you need to come to my room. There's no other way. When I tell you something like this, that by the way is not true, you can go in the Bhakti shop and you can go in the panorama hall, and don't come to my room. But when I tell you something like this, I tell you with my mind, I tell you with my ego, with my personality, and I'm telling you it's just me. I, Akash, whatever the definition is about myself. But when the Guru says it's only through me, he's not talking about that body. Because many times he says, we come and we go. It's not about the body. It's about what he represents. He is the representation of that grace. He's the one who has the realization, that can give that realization. We many times said, and Guruji said it many times, can you give something you don't have? When I was passing by earlier, and I had this with me, many of you tried to take it, but I didn't let go. Can you, any of you, give this book to someone? No, because you don't have it yet. At 2 o'clock you can have it, but until you have it, you cannot give it. And so that's the point. The guru has that realization, has that grace, and he can give it to everyone because he has it. We cannot give it around. We cannot give something we don't have. And the problem becomes, how do I know that he has it? Yeah. Even after many years that you follow the guru, doubt is in your mind. You look at the situations and you think, is it real what he does? Is he real? Or is he just a very good magician? Is he real? Or is just a very good mentalist? Of course, to be able to do what Guruji does, that's what I tell people normally, you really have to be good in many things. You have to be able to read the mind of people. That is a great skill, difficult to have. You have to be able to go in the dreams of people and remember what you tell them, because he remembers what he tells people in the dream. You need to be able to arrange the elements and create things with what the material nature is made of. You have to know when it's the right time to do something. And that's very complicated. And especially, you need to have that grace to be able to give it, to change the life of people. Many of us in this crowd, myself, we are testimonies of his power of changing the life of people in a very beautiful way. And from what he claims, that's his greatest miracle. Guruji's greatest miracle is how people change. We were, years ago, in the night, he was on his swing, he was swinging. And then me and Rishi Aditya were there. We were talking about a person that now is a devotee that arrived to Bhakti Marga through crazy ways from Argentina, Australia, Milano, Italy, and then Germany. Crazy, crazy story. She changed so much. She found stability again, and she's on the path. And Guruji was saying, this is so beautiful. That's the greatest miracle, how people change. And then he looked at me and Rishi Aditya and he said, look at both of you. There is still a lot of work to do, but look how much you changed. And now that I'm walking around and I see many of you, I remember the time you came and I see these changes and they're so sweet, so beautiful to see how much we change. But Guruji, the Satguru, doesn't change your personality, doesn't come and makes you exactly the same as the other one. We're such a diverse crowd, coming from different paths, different experiences, different traditions, different understandings of life. And we still have them. We have different characters. We speak in different ways. We come from different countries. We have different culture, and yet we are united because of him. He's the one that takes all of these differences, puts them together, and then in his own way, he can align everything. And arriving to him happens in many mysterious ways. I don't remember if Guruji spoke about it, but we went to France recently, and we were in Mary Magdalene's cave. You have to climb a mountain. We climb. Some of us climbed faster, and some others a little bit less fast. So we arrive up. It's a beautiful view. We're up there. We're looking around, and there was a guy sitting on a bench on the right of the church. Well, the church of the cave, on the right of the cave. And he looked like an unlocked character of a video game. Yeah, just there, grayed out, there, waiting for an interaction. So we did our stuff. Then Guruji arrived. We went inside. We went outside. Nobody spoke to him. Nobody spoke to him. And then we want to take a photo. So we all line up. And then there is the guy sitting there. And so we prompt him, say, can you take a photo of us? And he said, yeah, of course. He takes a photo. And then me and Anshul, we go to him and we tell him, oh, by the way, you know, he's Paramahansa Vishwananda. Yeah? He's our guru. And he's like, oh, wow. Wow, beautiful. I follow also Hinduism. I'm on the spiritual path. I am here randomly. I just arrived. He meets Guruji. And the day after, they send us a photo of him sitting in the dining hall with Drishti. And he's still here. You can find him. He's around. It's beautiful, and it's so weird. How can you organize all of this? As a person, how do you manage to organize all of this? That's what the Sadguru is able to do. So how do you put all these skills together to be able to act like the Sadguru? It's very complicated, and yet super beautiful. Going back to the concept of the Ishtadev when we do the initiation, after you meet him, you talk to him, you realize this lifestyle is great, that to follow him is a very good idea, and it is a very good idea. You follow him, and then once the initiation happens, he gives you this Ishtadev, this personal deity you're very close to. And that's why in the Siddhanta here, in the book, we say, as one grows in their connection to the Ishtadev, to the personal deity, there is a natural development of the relationship with the Sadguru. The more you get close to your Ishtadev, the more you get close to the Sadguru. The development follows each other. The more you get close to the Sadguru, the more you get close to your Ishtadev, because you go always more and more deeply inside of you. Guruji says, it is very easy to worship the deity. You can go in the temple, you take a puja course, a course to do the ritual. You go in the temple, or you go in your house, in your room, and you do a puja, you do the ritual. It's very easy. You can learn it. Even the ones of you who says, I cannot learn anything, you don't even need to learn it. You just take the book and you follow what's written inside. We can all do that. And Guruji says, it's very easy to worship the deity. Radha Krishna will not come to tell you off. Radha Krishna, God, will not come and give you a slap. That is the role of the Satguru. The Satguru is the one that gives you a slap. Now, we're not talking about a physical slap, but it's an ego slap. He's very good in slapping the ego. The other day, we just went for a beautiful walk here. We went in the garden, and he started to pick up some strawberries. So we're there, got some strawberries. They were very good. And then we were talking, and it went on for 2 hours. And then at one point, we are getting some of the weed that is growing around here. Guruji can cook this selvatic weed. It's super good, super good. It's like some spinach. It's not specific about this lecture, but it's just very good in cooking also, just adding to how many skills he has. So he takes this thing, and then meanwhile, we are talking about how good he is to give these slaps. So I tell him, and I said, you know, Guruji, you are really, really good in hitting the right spot. And he was very happy to hear this. And he said, what do you mean? As if to say, tell me more about it. And then I said, yeah, you know, you make it look so real, so realistic, so specific. It's so real when you say it. Your face, what you say, how you say it. And again, very big smile, super happy, and says, yes. And I told him, I said, Guruji, it's painful. And he starts to laugh and said, it should be. It should be painful. For your ego, it should be painful, because if it doesn't challenge the mind, you're not going to change. And that's what I like a lot about this path, and I know many other people that like that also, is that Guruji is not going to say words to please you. That's not the Satguru. The Satguru is not here to please you. But don't get me wrong, he's super sweet. He's super sweet. I can tell you the slaps, but I can also tell you that when I fall asleep with a book in my hand and the light on, I wake up and the light is off and the book is on the side, because he comes in the room and he turns off the light and he puts the book on the shelf. He's incredibly sweet, but he is also very good in slapping. That's the qualification of the Sadguru. It has to be very good. And he can create situations to teach you lessons. And since it happened, I decided after it happened, I was going to come here today and tell you this story. It's a simple story, but shows you how good he is in teaching lessons. We are in a forest, and there's a river. And then the river stops at one point, and it kind of becomes a little lake. But it's not really a little lake. It's just that the water doesn't flow so fast, so you can bath there. It's some of us, we're bathing there, and then everybody goes out of the water. And it's just me and Guruji in the water, standing in the water. The water reaches like this level here. I'm here, Guruji's in front, and he's talking about a topic. And then out of nowhere, really out of nowhere, not prompted, there was nothing related to what he did. He just stops, looks at me and says, I dropped one of my hair in the water, find it. So first reaction of your mind is, no way, it's impossible. Then training kicks in and you say, let me try. So I said, okay. I look down, I try to scan the water, but it's a river. It's very difficult. So I look at the water and Guruji just stares at me as if to say, are you going to find the hair or not? It's very serious. So I look and then I decide I have to move to find the hair, because he started to move the finger as if to say, he's around there. And so I start to move in the water, of course. And then I try, I don't see it, and I decide to move further away because Guruji said, it's down there by now, probably. And so I quickly kind of, when you run in the water, it's very, very weird. And then I go there and I look around to just see the face of disappointment of the Satguru. Because first, I didn't find the hair. And second, he says, you see, that's the problem of people like you. Idiots. Slaps. Idiots. You moved the water. How are you going to find the hair if you move the water? So I look at the water, and of course, because I ran far away, everything was shaking. And he said, how do you think that you can find what you're looking for if you move the water? Only when the mind is stable, you can find what you're looking for. Pause. And then he says, look. And then he picks the hair. It's one of many stories like this. And the reason why I loved it so much is because it takes reality and shows you how things should be in this reality. This Siddhanta is going to talk about all these things. He's going to talk about the Satguru. He's going to talk about his nature, the way he works, what is God for us, what is the soul, what is this material nature. And he's going to talk about how you need a mind that is stable. You cannot keep following the ups and downs of your mind. You need a stable mind. And the beauty of the real Sadguru is that it's not just philosophy, it's not just talking, it's not just saying things, it's the experience. That's what he can give. He gives that experience and he teaches us these very complicated concepts in this reality. And so for me, specifically in that moment, because we were just two of us, he didn't say this in front of 30 people. He didn't do this in front of many other people. It was just two of us. And for me, it was very important because I needed the reminder that I need to calm my mind. Because if you keep attaching your mind to different things, even if you call them spiritual, you get lost because you need to stabilize it. And how did he show me that? In the water with a hair. Look of how little is a hair, but what a big teaching the Sadguru can give. It's beautiful. It's a mystery and it's beautiful at the same time. So, there is a part here that says, while worshipping the Ishtadev is easy, it is the Satguru's duty to polish his devotees and prepare them for receiving the full grace of Sri Hari, of God. So it is the Satguru's duty to polish his devotees and prepare them to receive that grace. Many years ago, we were in the temple, walking up the stairs, and Guruji tells me, you know, there's a guy here, and he's a diamond. And you need to teach him these things. You need to polish him. And I remember I walk up the stairs with him, and I think, no. And I look at him, and I said, no. And he said, yes. And I said, no. That's your job. I don't know how to polish people. I don't even know. I don't even think the guy is a diamond, just to be clear. So how can I polish something I don't even agree with? And Guruji says, no, I'm not saying that you're going to do what I do. That's my job. Just teach him some stuff. The rest I will do. And that's what the Sadguru does. The Sadguru is the one polishing. The problem, though, is that he leaves something super beautiful, choice. You can choose. I told you a very nice story about a guy that randomly met Guruji on the top of a mountain in the cave of Mary Magdalene, and now he's here, but he still has a choice. He can do something else. He can leave. Every one of us here has a choice. And one of the greatest sentences of the Satguru, of Guruji, is, nobody is forcing you to stay here. I love it. He says, the bar is open at the entrance. You can just leave. And that's super important because the Sadguru comes with that grace. He can grant that realization. He is everything that we spoke about. That's its nature. But he also says, you have to want it. We were in South India many years ago. We're in the Sonark temple. It's the temple of the sun god, beautiful. Super sunny, not German sun, Indian, South Indian sun. It was crashing us. We had umbrellas. And there's a beautiful road that leads to the temple. It's very wide. and we're going back to the bus. And it's 4 of us. We're walking. There are 2 other people here. Guruji is saying, and he said, you know, you too have a lot of potential, but you don't want to change. If you wanted to change, you would be great, but you don't want to change. You're too attached to your habits, to your personality, to what you like, to what you dislike, to what you want and what you don't want. And you don't listen to me. And he said, and if you go on like this, I cannot do anything, because it's true. I kick you and I slap you, as we say here in the Siddhanta. The Guru does slap you. But then he added, but if you don't want to listen to my slaps, nature will come and it will hit you much harder. And as a spectator, as I often am in this situation with Guruji, I'm just always there as a spectator of all these speeches. I think with my mind and my understanding, and I say, they're not that bad. They're not that bad, these 2. So we keep walking, and I see how serious Guruji is. He really means it. He says, if you guys don't decide to change, it's going to be a problem. Years later, there's a big festival. We are down in the tent. There's a problem with one of these 2. And I say, I asked Guruji, and I said, why? Why is it so complicated? And Guruji says, because they don't want to change. Well, it was one person, so he said, because he doesn't want to change. And that's not just him. There are many people who don't want to change. They stick around. They are here, but they don't want to change. And I asked him why. I said, why is it so difficult to change? Why do we not want to change? And he said, because we are too attached to our samskaras. The samskaras are our habits of this life and of past lives. Yeah, we have a bank of samskaras. This book speaks about these things also, and how much our interaction with the object of the senses and our senses creates these attachments and binds us into this bank of habits, of past habits. So when you hear something like this, you're with your satguru, spiritual situation, so you look at him and you say, wow, are you saying that the samskara, so his habits from his past lives, are so strong that are hitting him now in this life? And one of the saddest answer Guruji ever gave me was, no, only of this life. So the habits that that person built in this life only, in those 25 years, were so strong to pull him away from the path and not allowing him to change. It's very sad, no? It would be so much better to have an answer like, no, you know, for 25 lifetimes, he built these habits that bring him away. But it's only in this life. It's really sad. Because then in that moment, I thought about my life. And I was like, oh, my habits were not that good before meeting you. What did I build that I don't control? And especially, do I want to change? Because it's always easy to look at other people. I look at many of you, I know the stories of many of you, and I think, and I can judge all of you. Yeah? I just see Hitesh down there. I just reminds me of something super nice about the Satguru. We are in Mauritius. Can I tell the story? Yes, okay. We are in Mauritius. We go in the forest. Again, there's always a forest, and there's a river. And you can jump from like a little hill. You can climb a little bit, some stones, and then you jump down. And it's just like, I don't know, maybe 5 meters, exaggerating 6, maybe even 4. It's just very little. You jump down in the water. Maybe it's a little bit more complicated because the area you can catch when you jump is a quarter of the stage. Yeah? So you need to jump and catch exactly that specific place. And it's not that deep, so you might hurt yourself because it's full of stones around. But outside of these little problems, it's just a very easy jump. So I'm super excited. Super excited. I can jump, Guruji's there, and I know from experience that Guruji is going to tell me to do the backflip. So I'm super happy to do the backflip. I'm super happy to climb and to jump from a stone and to almost die crushed by some stones around the water. Because that's how I grew up, and these are my samskaras, these are my habits. Jumping from things. So we go up, some of us, some are more happy to do it, some are less. And then there is a person that I already mentioned, but and he said, Guruji told him to jump. But this devotee is scared because doesn't like to do these things, like some of us. And I don't know if he's scared of height. I don't remember. Yes, he is. The wife confirms. So he's scared of heights. And Guruji tells him, go and jump. He could have said no, just to be clear. If he says no, Guruji is not going to look at him and say, goodbye forever. I will never look or speak to you anymore. He has a choice. He can say no. Guruji told me for so many years to paint. And I always told him, Guruji, I don't know how to paint. So when Guruji looks at him and says, go and jump, you see that there's a part of him that clearly says no, but there's the other one who says, but I want to change. Even if I'm scared, I want to change. And so he climbs up with the help of some of us. He goes at the edge of the stone, and then you can see that he wants to jump, but there is something inside of him that doesn't allow him to do so. And that's a very, very beautiful parallel to all of us, not about jumping, because this story, and that's why I said it's very easy to judge the others, it's not about him jumping. That's not what we have to learn, whether he jumped or not. It's in how many situations does the satguru bring us at the edge of our habits, and he says, now you need to change it, jump. And how much power do we give to this trust that we have in him, that is the right moment, that we can do it, and how much we just say, no, I cannot do it, and we just follow our fears and our samskaras, our past impressions, and we say, no, I am scared of heights, I cannot do it. And so in that moment, this devotee had a great idea to say, help me. To the Sadguru inside, I'm sure that he was saying, help me. But then he looked at me and said, help me. And I was very happy to help him from the back with my knees, my legs, and my arms. And I just pushed him down. And it was really nice. Just really nice. Because that's the power of Sangha also. That's what Guruji gives to all of us. The power of association and to learn from each other things that we can do better and how to help each other change. All of this, again, thanks to the Sadguru, because he's the one that organized all of this. He's the one that put all of us together with in different ways, but he's the one who brought us all here to be together. And so, Guruji says, if the master says, here I am, pray to me, and you will have everything, how many people will listen? Especially with the Western mind, they will not believe. They will question it. They will doubt it. It's easy to just believe in a deity. Believe and just build up the relationship with the Ishtadev. But who gave that Ishtadev? It's the guru. Meaning the grace of that guru is there. It's difficult because the master will always put your faults up to your face and say, hey, stop, this is not right. You have to change that. The deity will not do that. That's why it's much easier for somebody to build that connection with the Ishtadev than with the guru. And by building that connection, because the Ishtadev has been revealed by the grace of the guru, you're building your connection to the guru. Some days ago, weeks by now, actually months, I'm in the toilet. Sorry for the image, but it's important to understand. I'm in the toilet and Guruji calls me. So I answer, because if Guruji calls, it's probably important. It doesn't really matter if you're in the toilet or if you are on stage. It's probably important most of the times when he calls. So I answer, and Guruji slapped me at the phone very clearly, very specifically about something that I did. I disagreed 100% with what he was saying. I didn't tell him because I know it's not a good idea, but I disagreed with him 100%. Everything he said, I took what he said, I took my experience, and it was a big mismatch, complete mismatch. He said, oh, you did this just because you wanted attention, because of your ego, because of this. And I tell you, I'm sitting on that toilet thinking, no. I felt it. I was so sure. I said, this is one of the most real experiences I had. How can you call me and say it's not? So he finishes. Guruji tells me all these things. Conversation finishes. And I stay there very, very upset. Because I don't understand. Why did he do that? So I go in my room. And I have a big image of the Divine Mother that is my Ishtadev. Yeah? Guruji told me, she's my Ishtadev. She's my personal deity. And for many years, I'm building that relationship. I always felt it. And after Guruji said it, I was even happier to know that it was true. And so I'm building that relationship with the Divine Mother. And many times I have conversations with her. So I look at her, it's a beautiful image, and I say, now you need to make me understand. This makes no sense. Go and speak to him. Please, do something. This makes no sense. I want to understand it. I want to change, but I don't get it. That's also something very complicated. Maybe many of you want to change, but you don't understand it. I don't know if you ever had that experience. I just don't get it. I want to change. I don't understand the lesson. Help me understand. 10 minutes after, Guruji calls me. It's much sweeter, less slaps, and he explains me what went wrong. Yeah? Relationship with the Ishtadev, with the deity, and relationship with the satguru. They go hand in hand. You get closer to one, and you're getting closer to the other one. It's really important to understand. And that's what Guruji is saying. And then it says, it is the incarnation of the Supreme Nature, the Supreme Tattva, which holds all the different forms of God, and it is full of paradoxes and mysteries, yet the simplest and the easiest to love. The life of the Satguru is the most secret of secrets. That's what he says. The most secret of secrets, full of paradoxes and mysteries, and yet the simplest and easiest to love. Such a great definition of who Guruji is. It's a mystery. I tell you, now I've been close for a long time. And by close, I mean physically. I have no idea what he does, how he does it, why he does it. So many question marks. So many question marks. It's really the embodiment of the paradox. And at the same time, it's so easy and simple. That's why it's a paradox. It's so easy and lovable. You can just love him. For many years, I used to, once I called him and I said, Guruji, he was going to leave for a month to India. So I called him and I said, Guruji, can I come and see you to say goodbye? And he said, take a picture. Take one of the photos and you can see me there, say goodbye. It doesn't feel like the same as actually seeing him, but it's a very good point. Very good point. Because I just didn't want to see him. I wanted to stay with him for a while until he was leaving. So he's always there to help you fine-tune what you really want and you're looking for. And that concept of being with him, staying with him, wanting to see him, to remember him is essential because he's the embodiment of all these qualities that we spoke about. He's the one that helps us to remember all these things. And this concept of being the simplest and the easiest to love, it's so true. Something that is putting us all together in the same group is that we did nothing to deserve what we are receiving from him right now. Devotees, I'm talking about, people on the path and the new people. You come here, you receive everything. There is water, there are nice people, nice techniques, nice temple. There is everything that you need. And he didn't ask anything from us. When I came 9 years ago, he asked me nothing. Nothing. I arrived and he gave me everything. Everything. And yet it's so difficult to remember that I received everything. So, again, we were walking in the garden and I said, Guruji, how do I make sure that I do not live with that bitterness? How do I not allow that bitterness to come in my mind and poison everything in my mind? And he said, with gratitude. With gratitude, this will not happen because you will remember how much you receive. And to be able to remember how much you receive, you have to be vigilant. You have to look at that. You have to be aware of how much he's giving you, and therefore you have to be more and more and more present. And that's why the techniques are there, and that's why we said in the Satguru Tattva section, he says that the Guru gives you a sadhana, a spiritual practice, a set of practices that help you become more and more aware, more and more present. Because with that presence, it's much easier to remember everything you receive. It's much easier to be grateful of everything that you're receiving. But again, it's full of paradoxes. And then there's a section that talks about the Satguru Yoga. So Guruji says that in the Bhagavad Gita, there are 18 forms of yoga. Now, for the ones of you that are new and don't know, in the Bhagavad Gita, if you read it, has 18 chapters, and every chapter is a yoga. That's in the name of the chapter itself. And Guruji says, through the Bhagavad Gita, the world has heard of 18 forms of yoga, but there is a completely hidden 19th form of yoga. The 19th most secret, most inexplicable form of yoga, the culmination of all Bhakti yoga. is Satguru Yoga. It is so extraordinarily pure and the most true manifestation of Bhagavat Prem, of the love of God, that it can only be experienced in the very deepest core of the Atma, of the soul. Only the Satguru who incarnates extremely rarely can open up this form of yoga to the world, and only the most deeply humble people can ever see even a shadow of its reality. So beautiful. Satguru Yoga. The real Satguru, the rare times that he incarnates, is the one that can instruct you on that yoga, on the Satguru Yoga. And in the last 2 pages of the section, there's a very important part and very interesting for us, especially today, that is Guru Purnima. And given that is the day of the Guru, Guruji will come here and we will do the Abhishekam to his feet. We will do this ritual. And for the newcomers, you can just go to the welcoming desk and they will explain to you why is there, traditionally how it works, and why do we do it. But he will come here and we will be able to worship him and to be grateful about everything that he gave us. For me, this is the essence of Guru Purnima in a way. I can go to him even more than any other day and tell him, thank you for everything you're doing every day, constantly. And we will be allowed to touch his feet and to, I don't know if we do it today, but maybe to offer even a petal. And Guruji says, focusing on the lotus feet of the Satguru is the only place that the Bhakta needs to direct one's heart and mind. The single-pointed focus will bring one beyond all karmas, samskaras, destinies, qualities, and other limitations. All gods and demigods, all energies and visions, all power and joy flows from the lotus feet of the Satguru. Love finds its home at his feet, the home from where Divine Mother never moves. He is the movable and immovable deity. He is the spoken and unspoken mantra. He is the heard and unheard cosmic sound. He is the tangible and intangible truth. He is the dearest and closest, and also the most worshipable and reverential. For a Bhakta who has complete Guru Bhakti, every obstacle is removed and every blessing in the universe is bestowed. All gods and demigods flow from the lotus feet of the Satguru. When I read this the first time, and then when I saw that the rishis and the others who were preparing this put this specific tweet here, it reminded me of a Guru Purnima, like today, of many years ago. It was on the other side of the building where the grass is. And Guruji came down, he sat down there, he had his seat. It was summer, but it was Germany, so it was clouded. He sat down, and when we finished the ritual, at the end of the Abhishekam, it started to rain, but just a little bit. And then at one point, the clouds opened, and just a little bit of sun, a little bit of rage, shining on Guruji, and then he went away. The ones of you who were there remember that moment. This tweet, this book, this nature of the Satguru talks about that. All the demigods, the ones that are in charge of the sun, the ones that are in charge of the sky, the ones in charge of rain, they come on the day of the Guru to worship the Guru because they flow from his feet. It's a very complicated concept to grasp in the mind, but the reality that we experienced, and I'm here as a testimonial to this, it happened. I was there. I saw it. And you could claim it was a random event, but it has to be very specifically random. Very specifically random. At the end of a ritual, the sky has to open, the sun has to shine on a specific place, exactly where he's sitting, and it has to rain just a little bit, enough to say, hi, I'm also there, and stop raining. It's very difficult to arrange it. So that's what the Sadguru is. This great mystery. And then going on with the Sadguru Yoga, Guruji says, the 19th form of yoga, the Sadguru Yoga, is impossible to receive in any formal way of education. Only and only the very highest Sadguru can even speak of it. If one has had the grace to know such a being, spend your life's every ounce of prana to hold onto his lotus feet. What you will receive in his company is the fullness of the relationship of the Atma, the soul, and the Paramatma, the super soul, and even greater secrets that the Sadguru will never ever speak in words. All is given in the silence of Prem, of the Atma, and Sadguru. He has all these things inside of him, and is always ever ready to give them. And that's why he told me many times, the problem is not him. It's us. We are the ones who don't want to receive that. He's always ready to give it. He has it. He's a continuous flow of grace. Whatever he does, wherever he is, in every moment, is a continuous flow of grace. But we just don't want to be bathed in that grace. We just don't want it. We're too busy. Too many attachments. Too many doubts. Too many if. Too many buts. There's no time for all these problems. And then Guruji says, as the ending tweet and the ending words of the Sadguru Yoga section, this is the greatest yoga. The yoga, the union of the most ungrateful jiva with the most loving being. Who other than the Sadguru would ever do this? Love for no reason. And uplift the muddiest one upon his own sacred head. There is no other like the Sadguru. The ones who don't leave his feet for anything or anyone in the entire world are the luckiest one. The title of today, when we were thinking about how to title this lecture, was highlighting how everybody needs a guru. Everybody needs a guru. Everyone. You're a devotee, you still need a guru. You don't know him, you still need a guru. Everybody needs the guru, and specifically the Sadguru. Because what the Sadguru can give, this embodiment of grace that we spoke about at the beginning, is essential in everyone's life, is part of who we are, is part of the nature of our being. Whether you want it or not, you need that grace. Now, in 1,000 lifetimes, in 100,000 lifetimes, you will need it. It's an essential part of who you are. You need that grace to realize who you really are. And so the reason why everyone needs the Sadguru is because we cannot live without him. You cannot live without him. And again, I invite you, because with all these years, I really learned how then people think, oh, you see, you said you cannot live without him, so it's only about him. Yes, in a way, it is all about him. But again, don't make the big mistake to just think at that exact specific body made in that way. You need that embodiment of grace, because he's the one who can give it to us. Because with that grace, you can receive and have granted that highest realization to realize who you really are. But as we said many times today, you need to want it. And wanting it, going back to the guy in South Italy saying, I want that love. It's very strong. It's very strong. That love, quoting Guruji, burns everything. It's a love that burns everything. And we talk about everything. We're talking about what we think it's so important. What we think that is something that is so impossible to live without. And he says, this love will burn everything because it's a love that will encompass everything. It will give you everything, but it will burn everything else. And that's when the mind then starts to make things very, very complicated. But again, the Satguru, this embodiment of paradox, mystery, and yet the simplest and the more lovable. This definition, it's the one that should guide all of us. Paradox, mystery. It's difficult to understand, but we can love him. It's very easy if we just stop to make it complicated. If we just stop to make things complicated, it is very, very easy. So in conclusion, we wanted to release it today because it's our offering to him. And you will see, the ones of you who know Guruji, who know Bhakti Marga, who have been around for a long time, you will realize how this book, Taratmya Vedanta, is just gonna put together everything that Guruji said, just in a systemized way with the right Sanskrit words to help you understand even more what Guruji says in his tweets, what Guruji says when he speaks. And he's also going to help you to get closer to him because you will want to hear more about what he says. You'll be more hungry about all his teachings. It would just be a very important and helpful tool in your spiritual life to understand even more what he's saying, how he's saying it. And this is our offering for him. I just wanted also to take time to thank specifically 2 people who worked a lot on this. And by a lot, I mean daily, constantly. That are Rishi Parva and Rishi Sahadev. A big applause. They're really, really dedicated. Really dedicated. A great example of how much philosophy, the Satguru, his words, his tweets, his satsangs can become a passion and they can become part of your daily life. Something that would just come with you constantly, whatever you do, as a reminder of the path, of the beauty of what he says, and it will allow you to be even more grateful because of what you have received. So thanks to all of them, and of course, not only them, there is Myron, Swami Vatikanta, and many other people actually who helped create. And, you know, making a book becomes difficult by the end of it. At the beginning, you have a lot of ideas, but then slowly you have to actually come up with all the chapters and put the sections, and they have to make sense. The right commas have to be there, and all these different things, and many, many people helped us. And for me, that's one of the things I'm the most grateful to the Satguru. And when I come on Guru Purnima to offer to him the petals or to wash his feet, that's what I like to tell him inside and to be grateful of this. This for me is one of the most tangible things. People, the community that he built around me, all the inspiration I can get from all of you in different ways, in different environments, in different things. But this is one of the things that helps me the most because I can be inspired in so many different ways by so many of you. And this exists thanks to him, because he's the one who called me to the path. He's the one who gave me the possibility. He's the one who allowed me and all of us to be here, to experience all of this. And that, for me, is one of the sweetest forms that the Satguru takes. Community. And then, of course, there is him, the greatest mystery of all. Super sweet, very good in slapping, and absolutely needed for anybody. Om Shanti 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 Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Prem se bolo Satgurudeva Shri Swami Shananda Mahaprabhu ki, Samasta Bhakta Mandali ki,